All right, good to see you. I'm jumping on live to talk about how to surpass your income goals. We're going to be talking all about how to surpass your income goals with some of the little known things that seven-figure entrepreneurs know. I'm going to break them down for you today. And I have a very big announcement to do at the very end of our time together. So you're going to want to stay tuned to the very, very end. But today's I'm talking about surpassing income goals. So if surpassing income goals is something that is on your radar screen, like it is the thing that you're trying to move, it is the thing that you are pushing forward, then I need to know that. Put just income in the chat. Just put income in the chat. If that is something that you haven't been able to totally figure out, like how is it that these people who are at seven figures and eight figures, they seem to like effortlessly scale over and over and over and over again, and where you feel like your move for surpassing income goals seems to be like it's molasses, like you're stepping into some quicksand or some tar where you can make some progress, but to get those income goals, getting real results, it doesn't seem to come. So if that's you, I just want you to write income in the chat. I want you to write income in the chat. And as I've got my 67-day year folks coming in, I'm going to make Barbara a co-host. I'm so excited about a big announcement that I have for you at the end, but I want to make sure we hit this training today, because the real reality is when you feel stuck, when you feel like your business isn't moving, when you feel like the clients aren't coming and the people aren't seeing you and knowing you, and you feel like the best kept secret on the internet, it's maddening. Yes, because you're driven, because the dream is there and it is not going away. Britta, good to see you. I haven't seen your face in a while. Good to see your face. So here's the thing. Here's what I know about you. We cannot turn this part of you off that has a calling. We cannot turn this part of you off that has the big vision, the big dream. In fact, there probably have been seasons where you've tried to like squash it down and just like, I'm good. And then it just like a whack-a-mole just keeps popping up, because this is how God has wired you to impact people. Like you're the chosen, you're the set apart, I always love how God talks about the Jewish people, because he's like, you're set apart. You are set apart to impact people's lives. And that is why the dream never goes. That is why you can try as you might. And then, so here's what I want to do is get very practical with you. What are these little known things that people who are scaling all the time that seem to be getting results left and right? Do you agree? Say yes if you agree. Like you see people who are at seven figures and they like had another six-figure launch and then another massive thing go and then this and then that. And you're like, but I just want real results. Put real results if that's the thing, because you feel like you get onesie, twosie results and then it like backslides some. And then you start having the questions in your mind. Who am I? Why is this? What? And there's a different pattern for people who are at scale versus a pattern that is present when you're in this, what I call the seesaw period, right? And a lot of people stay in that seesaw period. You know what I'm talking about? Like you somebody on the other end, you feel like you keep going up and down. That's the seesaw period. And everyone goes through it. See, that's a belief I wonder if you don't have, that people who are at 7 and 8 are constantly winning, constantly scaling. They've been in that seesaw period too. They just shifted the three things I'm going to be talking about today in their thinking that allowed them to surpass income goals. And then once they figured out that that actually worked, they continue that, right? So we repeat what actually works. And so this is key on how 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs think and act. Would you agree that 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs think and act differently than seesaw entrepreneurs? Say different in the chat. If that is like, if you like, and you listen and you hear, and we all think that there's a secret that we have, right? Where that still is still there in our minds. But there's like one little secret. There is, but it's not what you think. It's not what you think. And so if you know that 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs think and act differently, what I've noticed is most people focus on they think and therefore they act. Now, a lot of you in 67-day year, STEBDAR. So thoughts create emotions, thoughts and emotions combine to become a belief. That belief creates your action. You absolutely know this now to the core of your being. So tell me in the chat, when I say 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs think and act differently, where seesaw entrepreneurs, they hear that, and I did too, and we focus on the act, and we try to do their strategies, follow their tactics, do what we can see on the outside. Oh, I see them doing a webinar, I'm going to do a webinar. I see them doing challenges, I'm going to do a challenge. I see them doing summits, I'm going to do a summit. I see them acting this way, and I'm going to act this way. And it's not really you, and you got a mask on, right? So we focus on their act. But you in 67-day year, tell me in the chat, when they think and act differently, which of those two do we need to be leaning our energy into to learn? Tell me in the chat. And those of you, if you're catching this live later, I want you to comment down in the chat. What do you think? Yes, Carolina's like, they thinking. All right. So these are my brilliant students that know how the brain wires success. The brain science of success. Yet still, we are indoctrinated in being doers. So it's not your fault. You went to school. Everybody went to school. Yes. Everybody went to elementary school and middle school and got to go through that fun season. I've got kids there in that land right now. Yay. And then high school. And we learned the industrial system of education that pops us out on the other side as great learners. I can repeat the information. Each of you could tell me how to run a webinar, tell me how to do whatever. You could tell me every single step. Because why? Because you learned really well how to repeat things. That's what a doer is. This came from the industrial age when we needed to train up massive amounts of doers to create massive amounts of widgets so we could make massive amounts of money. So this is the whole educational system is built on this. I will try very hard to not take a hard right rant, but can I tell you that 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs think and act differently than how you were trained in your school. So you were trained in your school to be a doer, and here's the slippery slope, and it was indoctrinated in you. You have value for what were you taught? What you do. Your who was connected to your do, quoting Joyce Meyer there. So in school, if you got an A, that's the output. All right, I'm ranting. I'm feeling the rant taking me hard right, and we need to come back hard left to talking about surpassing income goals. But can we agree, say broken in the chat, that you learned a broken system of success? Because remember, you went to school to become successful. You went on to college. It was just a repeat of high school. More rote memorization, more identity based on what you do, more the person who does the most in the class wins. No wonder we come out and we try to start running a business and we're all caught up in this broken system, which you yourself said, yeah, 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs think and act differently. So we've got to learn how to break off what does not work anymore, to get off the seesaw.
Here's what I found.
That does it to me all the time. I can't sit still, so I'm like moving my arms and it thinks it wants something. So if you learned how to be a doer and you got your value, because Culture values that too, right? Culture says, "Oh yeah, do for me and I will value you." Yes? And so all this is kind of working against. Don't get discouraged because I'm about to share what works for and not against. But this is kind of the automations or the subconscious programming toward your success. And we wonder why we're on a seesaw. It's not your fault you're on a seesaw. You were legit taught to be on that seesaw. So we got to break off some of those patterns and thinking habits of doers, because I can tell you, and I'm feeling a preach coming on, I'm feeling an entrepreneur church coming on. But the moment you were born, you were given the gifts and the talents and the calling that you have. You did not need to do anything to make yourself worthy of that. That was a gift implanted in you from the beginning, meant to be matured and given to others. In other words, you are called. I wrote it down this morning. He didn't create you to fail or be in fear. He created you and called you to impact others. That's why you can't let it go. And your value is not in your skills, although you need skills to advance. It's not in what you do, even though obviously you need to let people know about what you do in order to advance. Those things are true, but that value that you have, the internal intrinsic gifting that you have was there the moment you were born. And now your job is to grow. How do I think in a way that gets that value out to more and more and more people? It's a radical shift in thinking. Because the other shift in thinking is do more, do more, do more. Oh, I don't have enough clients. I'm not getting validated for who I'm doing. I must be failing. I must be bad. I must not be able to do this. I must not be called. And we rehearse the very thing that we do not want because we were trained in a system that was meant to keep us enslaved. And for anybody who has history or ancestry with slavery, I am sorry I'm using such a strong word, but I needed to say it because your calling was meant to set free, not just for you and your freedom, yes, and for the others that are waiting and suffering, waiting for you to release the gifting into the world on such a large scale that it is undeniable they will be helped. Can I get an amen? I'm like, that is where I'm at today. Success is your calling. It is your birthright. And isn't it just like the enemy of our soul to go after us from youth and indoctrinate our minds and our brains into how do we get how do I make her play small? I know. Let's connect what she does and all the value in her internal identity into what she does. She'll spin herself out chasing her tail like a dog chases their tail. Because why? Because we're trying to get our value and our confidence and our feeling and our identity from something that is hollow. But when you flip that switch, we talked about flipping the success switch, right? When you flip that success switch, you think like a seven-figure entrepreneur. Here's my question to you, those of you who are here with me live and those who watch the replay as well. How much faster? Well, let me ask this. Put six figure in the chat if you want a six-figure business and you're not there yet. If you're there, just say I'm already there. But if you want one, put six figure. That's the next target. That's the next target. I see you, Barbara. That's the next target. Right? Okay, so that's the next. If you've already there, say I'm already there. And good. Then we'll just replace the six with a seven and go on. So there we go. Okay. So a majority of you are aiming that direction. Now, if you didn't write that, I even know probably what you're thinking. Well, I can't even think about six figures yet. I need to get a few more clients before I even entertain that thought. See the safety? See the protection? See what your brain's doing? See how it's serving you? Right? Okay. So let me ask you this question. Since most of you wrote that down, or maybe you were thinking the thought I just brought forward, what is the fast track to six figures? Does anyone know that? Put it in the chat if you know it, because we're going to dive into three pieces of this coming up as soon as I see some of those answers. I got to keep hydrated today. Carolina's like six-figure thinking. You're on the right train there, Carolina. So here's what I want to propose to you. The fastest, yes, Erica, the fastest way to get to six figures is to have the thinking and the beliefs of a seven figure. Amen. Amen. Right? So write yes or give me your money bag emoji or your happy face emoji or whatever your favorite emoji is in the chat. If you started thinking like a seven-figure entrepreneur, it speeds up getting you to six figures by 4 times, maybe more, right? So then should we be chasing the doing or the act, or should we be chasing how does a seven-figure entrepreneur think? What are their patterns? What are their habits? Because you guys, this is the core of my mission and um, my work in the world is to get you to understand that this is a skill you can learn. Now, the only 3% of the people in the world will hear that and take me at that word. The 97 will default back to doing, default back into getting their identity from what they do, and they'll continue with the faulty, broken thinking, trying to get different results. And we know what Einstein says about that, right? The definition of insanity, I'm not calling you insane, but the definition of insanity is to continue to think and do the same things and expect a different result. So I want to pull forward a passion in you to say that there's nothing more important in your business. No strategy, no tactic, no DM, no cold call. None of it is as important as tapping into thinking like a seven-figure entrepreneur. Because when you think that way, then you do create the right beliefs that will enact the right actions, which will give you real results. We call that the bar, raising the bar, right? Beliefs create the actions, and those actions create the results. If my belief is that I am not possibly ready to make this happen, the actions that follow that will not be 6 and 7 figure actions. They will be from a failing perspective. So I am, well, a lot of what we teach in 67-day year, but I am going to be doing a live event coming up, talking in detail on what are the 10 core 7-figure mindsets you must install. But I want to talk a little bit about them today because you're my people. I want to throw it in here and start to give you some things to work on now. So 3 things that stand out to me that we do as 7-figure and 8-figure entrepreneurs that I don't see those who are seesaw entrepreneurs doing. So number 1, write this down. They take risks. Now I'm looking at a room of people and a couple people specifically that have taken big risks and done it scared. So congratulations, even in that active belief, you didn't believe it, but you took the actions. I'm thinking of Erica, and I'm thinking of Megan, and I'm thinking of Britta and what she is trying to create. And I'm thinking of Christy too, and Carolina as well, and Barbara for sure. These are some risk takers, right? But here's the thing. It's one thing to take a risk. I mean, I know Erica said, pulling the ripcord, I'm going all in. That was a risk. That's a big risk. So I just, first of all, I want to acknowledge you taking a 7-figure thinking process scared, right? I know you were scared. We've had conversations about it, right? So taking risks, but here's where this goes a little bit further is once the risk is taken, 7 and 8-figure entrepreneurs continue the trajectory of that risk. They don't just risk and then try to mitigate it. They risk and they close the door. That's a subtlety of thinking. But you know how this works, right? Anybody's ever tried to get in shape and you said, well, I'll try, right? And then you go to you're all in because willpower, neurochemicals last for about topping out about 72 hours. So you go to the gym and you do all the things, and then at 72 hours, because you have left the door open, you rely on emotion. I don't feel like it anymore. I don't know if I can do this. When have you said that in your business? Be honest. We've said it, right? I'm not sure I can do this, right? And so the difference between that thinking and the thinking of that we think in the 7 and an 8-figure mark is when we take the risk, we follow that trail. In other words, we close the door to the past after the risk. This is a very important mindset. So I call it the risk um, advancement mindset. So those that are struggling, take calculated risks and always keep the door open for the step back. Those at 7 and 8 figures, we take the risk and advance it. There's no going back. This is the risk. I took it. Let's go. What do I need to do to figure it out? Now, here's what I need you to hear. You ready for this? I know you believe that when we get to 7 and 8 figures, there's no problems. So nice because the money's there, and it's interviewing thousands of entrepreneurs. This is a common belief. When I get to 6, when I get to 7, then I won't have problems. Can I tell you, when you take bigger risks, you have bigger problems, right? And so it's choosing to solve the problems the risk creates. Write that down. It's choosing to solve the problems the risk creates, right? So we're going to deep dive into that one in the live event. I hope, of course, you guys all have a VIP seat for 67 day. If you're in my programs, you get a VIP seat in that room. Yeah, bigger risk equal bigger problems. But here's the thing. That's great news. Do you know why? Because as entrepreneurs, that's what we do best. We solve problems. See, we got to flip the thinking that it is my problem. It's a problem that's getting in the way of your impact. Remember what I said in the beginning, you are called, you are anointed, you are from the moment valuable enough. So these problems are standing in the way of you and your calling, right? Okay, that's number 1. We take risks and we advance. We solve the problems that the risks create, okay? Number 2 is in the category of thinking. Now, those of you in 67 day year, you have learned brain priming and you've learned truth priming. Now, only you can answer the question, have you actually done the work and trusted the process? Because I can hands down 100% tell you one of the mindsets of 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs that we have is that we rehearse the future, not the present. In fact, the present is just a problem to solve for the future. So we rehearse the future. Now, here's the great news. You're called, you're chosen, you're dreamers already, you're driven already. So the vision is there. But are you rehearsing it, the future, 10 times more than you're seeing the present? Because I can tell you that is a big mindset difference between struggling seesaw entrepreneurs and those that get to 6, 7, and 8 figures, is this shift in what I rehearse, rehearsing the future, seeing no option but it being successful, practicing. Now, this in our world, we call brain priming, and there's a very specific way to do it. So for those of you in 67 day year, you have access to that training. I'm not going to have you comment one way or the other, because I can tell you, if you have not done it, you are in great company with a lot of the people that are master certified coaches on my team that eventually realized they weren't going all in. They weren't doing it. Felt like a great thing to do, but they were busy being doers, not thinkers. And when they went all in, because I called them out on it, that's when magic happened for them. Because Guilty as charged too, by the way, because it's easier to not do that. Would you agree? It's easier to see what's in the present, what's in our bank account, what's happening in our relationships, what's happening in our health, the extra weight on us, the this, the that. It's easier to focus on that because it is what we are trained to do. But you want to know the thinking of 7 and 8-figure entrepreneurs. We rehearse the future more than we pay attention to the present. So how much more? I don't know. How much more do you want to advance? It's that's simple. I've shared the story of I might be repeating myself for some of you, but I had an opportunity to speak at Bill's 7-figure flipping 8-figure mastermind. And I did not know that the person that was speaking after me was Damon John from the Shark Tank. I had no idea. But he's sitting around the corner as I'm speaking to these 8-figure entrepreneurs, and I'm breaking down the brain science of success, that you have to train your brain to create a pathway to flip that success switch on. Without it, your success switch is flipped off. You are working in an industrial age thinking pattern. It's going to be hard, right? Can you push a 10-ton boulder up to the top of Mount Everest? Maybe. I don't know. But as I'm sitting there, I'm talking about STEBDAR. These are things within our proprietary processes within our neurocoach model. We were talking about truth priming, brain priming, STEBDAR, mind matrix, and they're copiously taking notes on how to train their brain to allow this next level of success they want and remove the blocks that are holding them back. And so we get done. It was like an hour that I trained them. I moved over to the side for the next speaker, and out comes Damon John. But and I don't know if you watch him or know Shark Tank, but he's owner of FUBU. He's got like investor in like, I think over 100 businesses at this point. Came from a very bad neighborhood, self-made billionaire at this point. Anyway, he walks by me and he looks at me kind of like, like side eye, like our kids do sometimes when you're like, he's like looking at me. And he doesn't take his eyes off me. And I'm thinking, what did I say? Did I say it? Like, I'm starting to freak out. Like I said something wrong, whatever. And he stood up and he said, I came here today to share with you how I created a $1 billion brand and how you can too. He said, but I've never heard anybody explain the steps that I took to do it. I accidentally did everything that she just taught you. And the reason that was an honor to hear, but remember, I was trying to solve my own entrepreneur glass ceiling when I went and started learning the brain science of how to train your brain, how to remove limitations, those kind of things, because I had limitations and my brain was not trained, right? So this isn't something you come out of the womb knowing and having. This is a skill you get to learn. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to call you out right now in so much love. If you have said, if these words have uttered from your mouth, I want to have a 6-figure business, I want to go to 7, I'd love to grow and scale, and you are not taking seriously the brain science of success, you are literally trying to push a 10-pound boulder up Mount Everest. So number 1, we take risks and we always move forward from the risk. We close the door. Number 2, we are constantly rehearsing the future over the present. I would give an estimation of at least 10 times more. So at least 10 times more we're in the future generations. One thing Damon John said, he woke up every single day. He wrote down everything that he was going to accomplish in the next 6 months to a year on a piece of paper. He spoke them out loud in the tense that it was already done. This should sound very familiar to a lot of you. And he did that every single day of his life, from the day he was dead broke to the day he started FUBU to the day he is who he is today. He said, I never missed a day. And do you want to know why he never missed a day? Because what he shared was the place where he came from. You were either rappers or you were drug dealers. You were either people that are trying to take advantage of women, or you were people that were trying to sell drugs. And he counted the cost, typical entrepreneur, right? Brain. He counted the cost and the amount of times that his friends were in jail and accused of things. He just said there was too high of a cost in going with the majority of the crowd. So he had to break the mold and he had to think differently than everyone that was around him. So if you catch yourself rehearsing the present, can I tell you that that's got to shift? That's got to shift. Okay, number 3, and I've got a big announcement for you. So I'm really excited about that. Is in their actions, in our actions, when we see a block come up, when we hear something that we know is blocking us, we are voracious in removing it. We are voracious in removing it. Now, in the live event that's coming up next month, we will get into more action based. But remember, if I tell you how a 7-figure and an 8-figure entrepreneur thinks about money, you've got to be able to take that and apply it to yourself. So why am I starting with things like risks and rehearsing the future and eliminating blocks? Because if I tell you the 10 main mindsets that every 7 and 8-figure entrepreneur has, and you ignore taking risks and you ignore rehearsing the future and you ignore eliminating the blocks, that's just going to be another page of notes of great ideas that don't get applied, right? So I want you to be prepared for that. I want you to start this. These are things you can start. Here's the great news. The mindset of a 7 and 8-figure entrepreneur, the thinking, because if you think like a 7-figure entrepreneur, you're going to become a 6-figure entrepreneur a lot faster, right? So I'm telling you, these are things you can start today. So let's make it real, shall we? Before I announce our big announcement. What risk do you already know? See, this is the great news. I'm going to show you that you were born with all the value and all of the identity and all of the confidence that you need, because you don't need me to tell you. And if you do, tag me in the group, but I'm pretty sure you can all answer this question right now. What is the risk you know right now you need to take that will advance you? Tell me in the chat. What is it? Because you know it. You intuitively know it. That there's a risk that you've been playing safe, so you've been doing a little of it. It's not that you're not doing any of it because you're a high achiever, you're a high performer, you're an entrepreneur, so you're doing it. You're just not doing it. You know what I'm saying? There's a risk that you know you need to take. What is that risk? And start to write down. Okay, maybe the risk is I'm going to start a top 100 and I'm going to DM 100 people. I'm going to act like a 7-figure entrepreneur and they do warm cold call. And that scares the bejesus out of me. I don't want to DM. I don't want to pick up a phone and call. That scares me. That's risky. Where do you pull back and say, I'm not going to do that, but I'll do this? I'll post on social, but I'm not going to go live. I'm not going to DM anybody, and I'm certainly not going to call anybody in my, phone and ask them if they know anybody that wants to have coaching. So what is it for you? I want you to just think about it. And how can you, when you take that risk, close the door on ever not doing it again? Because if we keep that door open, it's a very slippery slide back down to the seesaw. All right, so you can do that today. This is where the scale, okay, you're going to want to write this down. The scaling, 7, 6, 7, 8 figures, is in the silence. We think it's in the doing because we were trained in that. It's not your fault. But the scaling is in the silence. It's in that time asking, if you're a believer, the Holy Spirit to show you. If you're not, you're sitting in silence and you're like, okay, what risk do I need to take? What am I playing 10% that I know if I went 90 to 100%, it would move? But I'm playing 10% because I'm scared, because I don't want to be judged, because I want to be safe. What is that risk? Is it warm cold calls? Is it starting ads? Is it cold calls? Is it uh, getting partnerships? What is it? What is it for you? And just start brainstorming. How can I go from 10% to 50%? How can I go from 50% to 100%? And what do I need to close in order to do that? And usually it's not, it's more of a decision. Those of you in 67 decide in advance. It's deciding in advance that you will no longer be okay with only doing it once a week. You're going to do it every day. You're going to decide in advance. It's no longer okay that I only reach out to 3. I must do 10 a day, right? Whatever it is. Now I'm talking about lead gen. That's when I'm talking about things like ads or warm reach outs or cold reach outs or partnerships, because those are the 4 main ways to get leads into your business, right? And we have to have leads before we can have clients. So that's just the process. So Brittany, and I know this about you, Brittany, but Brittany, you're going and getting those 3 new clients that we talked about on that live. She's not wanting to be visible. Without being visible, your calling will die because they cannot see you to know that you can help them. Yes, I love to see it. She said she's made progress. Um, Rehearsing the future. Can you start that today? The brain prime is somewhere buried in a bunch of paper. It's time to get it recorded. It's time to listen to it in the morning. If it were me and I can tell you what I did when I discovered this. Everybody says, is there a faster way? Yes, there is. How much do you want the future you say you want? Because it's one thing to say, I want that. It's a whole nother thing to commit to rehearsing the future more than the present. So literally hour on hour, when I was struggling, seesawing, I could see the glass ceiling. I could see all those people at 6, 7, and 8 figures, but I was not there. So if that is you, you're in good company, because here's the thing. The more I repeated the future, the faster the future came. And the brain science of success shows that. It's like, if you have one guy working on building a freeway, will the freeway get built? Sure. It's going to take a long time. Well, what if I have 2 guys, or guys or gals? Well, it's going to go faster. Yeah. So we teach in our world morning and night for brain priming for a very specific reason, training your subconscious. But if I had 10 guys building that freeway, how much faster would that happen? Right? So how bad do you want the future that you say you want? Get crazy passionate about it. So I had a timer on, and every hour my timer would go off and say, time to brain prime. And I don't care what I was doing, unless I was live, I would say, okay, here we go. I am this. I am speaking in front of 300,000 people. I am. And then would listen to the brain prime every hour. So again, this is today. This isn't next week. This isn't 20 years from now. These are thinking patterns of 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs that you can start right now. And that's what I want to empower you with. This is a skill. So there's only 3 things you need to grow a business. You need leads, you need a skill, and you need a product. And that's it. Got to get better at the skill, get more leads coming in, and then you have to have a product to sell them. So the offer has to be great. Okay. That is it. It's not magic, right? So if I know that, then I've got to see that future over and over and over again. Okay. I think I'm beating this enough. Does that make sense? Repeat it more. And then actively eliminating those blocks. When the block comes up, it always comes in the form of a suggestion from your brain. You know, almost has a tone of like, I got your back, like I'm your friend. This is like nothing new under the sun since the Garden of Eden. You know, if you actually put your face out there, everyone's going to know. You should probably not do that very often. So whatever it is for you, because by the way, I'm not going to use the phrase of next level, next this, but because I don't want to speak anything like that over you. But next level, you've got, don't think that voices when you're taking bigger risks, that that suggestion from your brain is just quiet. Okay, can I just full confession? Like I had a moment in my car driving here today where I was like, now y'all know I'm a God girl, so I'm like, really? And honestly, the last time I had one of these was like when we started our nonprofit, and that's a long story, but I did everything to like t give it to other organizations because it was just so big, and I'm like, "I don't have time, too much." The same kind of thing came over me today, talking about bringing what we do onto TV, and I'm like, I mean, talk about the brain suggestions that were flying through my head this morning. I'm like, okay, okay, no, oh, that's too big. I know that world. Oh, my brain was trying to give me all the suggestions. So are you aware when your brain tries to give you those suggestions, the suggestions that take you away from the future you're repeating? These are fundamental. I have talked to thousands of 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. I found none that 100% of them had all 3 of these. So that's a clue. If getting to 6 figures, if it's true, and tell me in the chat it's true, if getting to 6 figures happens faster when you think like a 7-figure entrepreneur, and I just told you out of thousands, literally thousands, because I love doing research still. So I ask, I send things to my friends and their friends and their friends or their friends, and ask them to fill out these small little surveys. Hey, tell me what you're thinking. By the way, that's what I'm bringing into that live event. Is here are the patterns, right? Here are the patterns. You want to go fast, learn the pattern, thinking patterns of somebody who's there, right? These 3 were 100% present across all 1,221 of this last round. They take big risks. We close the door. We rehearse the future more than the present, and we actively eliminate the blocks that are going to stop it, because that's the only thing that can. Now, you could argue that a strategy could stop it, but here's the great news. The skills that you need to learn on lead gen, conversion, offers, all those things, yes, you can continue to get better, but if you have a great product and people have a problem to solve, that, I hate to tell you, but that's actually the easy part. That's the easy part. Go finding them. The part that's hard for people is when I say, go reach out to 100 people today, what comes up? When I say email your friends and your entire personal email list and say, I'm coaching high performing moms that want the next thing in their life and they don't know how to get to it. Do you know any moms that would be served by that? And we say, oh, I don't want to email my friends. But I can tell you one thing, there's not one 7 and 8 figure entrepreneur that I know that wasn't willing. Right? So we got to start to shift this being comfortable thing, if that makes sense. So these are 3. Has this been valuable today to be thinking, like to hear the thinking processes and compare them, not to judge yourself, but to say, oh, these are actually learnable skills that I can start practicing today, just like going to the gym. When you go to the gym for the first time, do you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Of course not. No. But when you go to the gym and you keep going to the gym, you keep taking the risk, closing the door, rehearsing the future, eliminating the blocks, and you keep building it day by day by day. Now you're training your brain to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur. So I hope this has been valuable. We're going to be doing 10 core thinking patterns of 7-figure entrepreneurs in the live event. And of course, breaking down how they accomplish so much in so little of time, because I really believe that sharing the big difference maker, the thing Yes, everything that we teach is brain-based, science-backed. It's how you rewire your thinking to align with where you wanna go versus where you've been, right? This is the core message that I have, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, I like knowing the steps. Anybody, who's my right steps? If you're like, step by step, please. I don't want to try to figure out what to do. I want the steps of what to do, right? I'm a step by step girl. Why do you think I went and got a PhD? Like, that's crazy pants, crazy pants. But I had to figure myself out, and I figured there were some steps there. And lo and behold, they didn't know they had the steps, but I got to put them together and it works. So, okay, see, you're like me. You're driven, you're a dreamer, you're an impactor, and you like the process. Just tell me what to do for real results, right? For real results. So you can go back to just working harder, working more hours, doing more, trying to get your identity from that place. And I can tell you that will produce a thicker and thicker glass ceiling. Or you could say, there's nothing more important than thinking like a seven-figure entrepreneur. I need that skill. So 3 skills I gave you today to start practicing on. Tell me in the chat, which one are you going to not just sit, because information does nothing. And if information becomes revelation that creates action, that is actual learning. So what's the one? Now, all 3, awesome. But what's the one that you're going to go and you're going to say, I no longer can think like a struggling entrepreneur. I have to up level this. Okay. Because I can tell you, don't let these lives that we're doing together and the live event that's coming up. And by the way, if you want, of course, 67-day year, you'll have VIP tickets. So just put VIP if you're a 67 day so I can see you and you want that VIP ticket. If you're not and you're watching this on a replay later or something and you want to get in the room to unlock that 7-figure thinking for yourself, then just put 7-figure in the chat and I will make sure you get an invite to that. All right, I've got a big announcement to make. You guys excited? I hope you're excited. All right, so this is for any of my clients. So if you're in 67-day year or you ever have been, or you're in neuro coach or you ever have been, we are bringing back the incredible breakthrough video contest. Woo! What the heck is that? I don't know what you're talking about, Shannon. All right, so let me fill you in on this. Now, here's the sneaky thing that I did for those that are in the summer sprint. We were giving you points, and I know Erica's already done this for doing testimonials. So what I want to do is I want to be able to brag about you. This is my favorite thing in the world to do, is to talk about you and what your business is and what you've done and how you've used the models and the methods to amplify your results. So we've done this contest in the past. In fact, I was just looking at the last time we ran and Barbara's video was in there and some of the other OGs were in there. It was so fun to kind of watch some of those videos and see how far they've come. It's so crazy. So what I want you to do, and it's very, very simple. You're going to record a video, and I'm in your inbox right now, by the way, you have an email, and I believe it says, can I feature you? Or I'm trying to scroll back up to see what it says. Can I brag about you? Or something like that. So look for that email because it tells you all the details and what you can win. But here's how we do it. You're going to first this week, before the 27th, you're going to submit a video about your breakthroughs. So your biggest breakthrough in 67, if you're in 67 and neuro coaching, you can do a video for both. And there's the opportunity to win in both areas. And you're going to want to talk about where you were. It's all in the email, by the way, where you were, why you jumped in, what has shifted. Make sure you talk about tangible things, the boulders that you've accomplished, the finances that have come through, that kind of thing. And then if you were going to say something to somebody who was thinking about coming in, what would you say to them? That's the format. We put a lot more details in the email, so make sure you read that. Now, here's the cool thing. After we stop the submissions of the videos, that we put together, because there's no way on God's earth I am going to pick one out of all of you, because I would pick all of you because I love you so much. So we have your friends, your family, the internet, the world vote on the breakthrough of the year. And so we put a page together with all the different videos, and you can send it out to all your social. You're going to want to encourage people to vote for you. And the cool thing about that is they get to hear what you've been up to, and they get to know what you're doing, which is pretty awesome too. So make sure you're talking about your businesses in there as well. And when the voting happens, we will be giving an incredible prize package to the top 3 winners. So the top 3 winners are going to win an intimate in-person mastermind with me. So I'm going to sit with you and some other amazing entrepreneurs. We are going to hot seat your business. I am going to get my mind on your business and help you map out a 7-figure plan. And that is one of the top prizes. We also are going to bring you onto the podcast and interview you for your business. So not for us, not to promote us, but to promote you. So the winners of the contest come on the podcast and talk about their expertise. They talk about what they're doing in their business and how they help people and all of that kind of stuff. And then in addition to that, we are putting together a lot more goodies that we're going to be able to give away to you for the breakthrough contest. So I'm just going to encourage you, if you had 7 boulders and you've crushed it, I want you to do a video. If you're still working on your first boulder and you're working toward it, but you're gaining momentum, I want you to do a video. Remember, the only way you get to the future is by the steps there, right? And so many of you have had all of these wins that we really encourage you to celebrate. So go back through and look at what you've accomplished. Make sure you share where you were, like how this has impacted you, and the tangible results, and how you would recommend that to someone else that was struggling just like you were. And have fun with it. Now, know if you go 3 minutes, that it will get chopped off. So stay in that 2-minute time frame, because we want people to actually watch your videos to be able to vote. Who's excited about this opportunity to have this? Now we're running a summer sprint contest, but I love the idea of doing this breakthrough contest, because I can tell y'all, there are times, I call them receipts. I keep all the videos. I watch. There are days, because I have them too, when I'm hearing God say TV and I start freaking out, right? And I go back and I just watch your videos. I spent the weekend watching videos, and there's nothing more powerful. Now, here's the cool thing. When we go to voting, don't worry, I'll explain it all. When we go to voting, you're going to market your video. This is the exciting thing, because it kind of is cool. When we've done this before, people have gotten clients left and right. I think you didn't you, Barbara? Yeah, because you're sharing breakthrough from our program, but the breakthrough that you're sharing from our program is the breakthrough they're wanting. And so you're going to be able to invite them into the event coming up. You can become an affiliate and make money that way, which is really, really exciting. And they're also wouldn't be surprised if they start reaching out to you as, hey, I want to coach with you. I want to support you. So it's really fun to share what you've been doing. It's inspiring for other people that are just getting started. And it's awesome for us, because then we get to shower you with some incredible gifts, some incredible prizes. We get to share with you on the podcast. We get to brag about you out in the marketplace. You can't buy that. Trust me, they come to me all the time. Can I be on? Can I be on? And the answer to that is no, but I love you. Be warm and be fed. But no, because why? Because I value the real estate that I have, and I want to be able to use the leverage that we have of our 40,000 plus email list and our podcast. It's top 25 podcast, and the ability to get in a room. There's nothing more powerful, if you've never experienced it, than getting in a room and sitting down and really, with somebody who's where you want to be, map out your specific plan. Now, summer sprinters, this is a chance for you to win double, because some summer sprinters are going to win this as well. So how cool would that be? So that's what we're doing. This is the big contest. So this week, you have 1 week to get your video in. Somebody always submits it on the day after we close it, and we cannot enter it into the contest. So do it today, do it tomorrow, get those videos in. If you've already done a few like Erica, just submit them all, because we'll grab and we'll look and see which one we'll put on the page. But this is an exciting opportunity. Breakthrough of the Year contest, whether you were in 67 4 rounds ago, or you're a lifer, you're a neuro coach in neuro coach 5, or you're a neuro coach 9, you're just getting started. So you probably just want to do 67-day year contest, but submit them. Check your email for how to. Here's the link. You're going to go to drshannonirvin.com/67 contest. 67 contest. That gives you all the details if you're somebody who likes to read information instead of having me tell you like this. But I'm super thrilled to have spent this time on our coffee chat today talking about 3 key mindset shifts that you must move if you want to get to 6 figures and beyond. And it's the most powerful skill you can learn, is to start installing mindsets that will take and catapult your results. So I'm going to be stalking you. I'm going to be looking to see, are you taking a risk and closing the door? Are you rehearsing the future more than you are looking at the present? Are you paying attention and eliminating? And for those of you who are not in our programs, if you ever watch this video, that's exactly what we do in our programs, right? We help you remove the blocks that are getting in the way and build these primes out so that you can build a success pathway, flip that success switch on. All right. And I'll wrap with this. I'm excited that we're announcing the breakthrough contest. This is like Christmas for me, to get to see what's happened for you, to share it with the world. We've got some great additional things that we're going to be adding to it, and I can't wait to announce those yet, but I'm not allowed to yet. Legal department has to look at it first. But I just want to share with you this. As I said when I went and did a little entrepreneur church earlier, this is so important that you stop using a broken model of doing more, expecting to accomplish more. Now, I'm not saying there won't be a time that you're doing more than most people, but what I'm saying is you've got to think right first. So thinking like that 7-figure entrepreneur, becoming unleashed as an entrepreneur, right? So that you know that the future that you see, because you've repeated so much, is just inevitable. And so I really would love to hear, tag me on socials when you're taking the risk, when you're repeating it, when you're doing those things and you're doing it publicly. I want you to tag me, because I want to be able to celebrate you, because I know that this is the linchpin that makes it all work. All right. I hope this was a 10 out of 10 coffee chat for you today. I'm excited about the breakthrough contest, and I'll see you guys soon. Wait a minute. We have Wednesday. Hang on one second. Bye for now. We have Wednesday.